Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. I hope your day, your week, and your weekend have been going very, very well so far. In this week's edition of Tasso's Sunday Night Football Picks, we have the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Minnesota Vikings in an exciting NFC showdown. And as always, guys, I've got some really great picks to go ahead and share with you. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. All right, guys, in today's video, I have 4 picks to go ahead and share with you guys. We got a pick on the spread, a pick on the total, and a couple of player props. So 4 total picks to go ahead and share with you guys in this week's Sunday Night Football Picks video. But first, guys, before we dive into today's picks, a quick little recap of how we did last week. And for a while there, things were looking very, very good. We obviously covered Ravens and Bills. What an incredible first Sunday Night Football game of the 2025 season. We did end up getting a couple wins, though. We had Ravens team total over. They blew through that. Derrick Henry over 79.5 rushing yards, blew through that. Unfortunately, the Mark Andrews anytime touchdown and the Ravens moneyline pick, both of those failed to hit. So still went 2-2, not terrible start to the year, but obviously had the Ravens just held on, would have had a 3-1 night and a very strong start to the season. All right, guys, one last piece of business. Before we dive into the picks, we have to go ahead and award our gift card winner from last week. Congratulations to Tim Dockstader. Tim Dockstader, 749. Kick off with Big Tasso. You have won the free $25 Amazon gift card for last week's kickoff giveaway. Do not worry though, guys. If you didn't win, we do giveaways every single week. From this point on, we do our touchdown player prop giveaway. So stick around to the end of the video for that, where we do our anytime touchdown plays. And if the player hits a touchdown, we'll pick one lucky commenter to win a free $25 Amazon gift card. So that'll be at the end of the video. The final pick is always the touchdown player prop. All you gotta do is comment the name of the player, and if he scores a touchdown, we'll go ahead and give someone a free $25 Amazon gift card. So Tim Dockstader, 749, congratulations. Please DM me on Instagram at Tassos Picks, and we'll get you that Amazon gift card. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, no more rambling. Let's go ahead and dive into today's Sunday Night Football picks. All right, guys, so our first pick in today's video, getting things started right off the bat with a spread pick. Again, a little couple details about the game. 8:20 p.m. kickoff, 3.5-point spread, 44.5 is the total. My first pick is going to be the Atlanta Falcons on the spread plus 3.5, which I'm grabbing for at the time of recording, which is Saturday morning, minus 115 on FanDuel, but you have a lot of different options to go ahead and tail this play. Now, right off the bat, one of the big reasons why I like this play and line movement and where the sharp action goes, it's very important when it comes to picking NFL picks. Now, it's not always a perfect science. It doesn't always mean that side's going to win the game or cover the spread. But at the time of recording, according to Action Network, the Minnesota Vikings are currently getting nearly 80% of all of the tickets. Okay, so the majority of the bets are being placed on the Vikings. Yet, despite the fact that nearly 80% of the tickets are going on Minnesota spread, almost 80% of the money is on the Falcons spread. What that tells us is the professional bettors, the smart bettors, the big time, maybe not smart bettors. Sometimes you just could be rich and not be smart, I guess. But the guys who are putting big time dollars on these games, they're throwing their money on the Atlanta Falcons at plus 3.5. So that's obviously a bit telling there. And that makes sense. If you look on the right side of the screen, if you go back to the outlier screen here, at September 8th around noon to or around midnight, the line was 5.5. It's now come down to 3.5 at this point. So you've seen some line movement that obviously comes from the money throwing on Atlanta. The line has been steamed down a little bit. I still think at plus 3.5, there's plenty of value, though, here on the Falcons. I think the number one reason people would go ahead and fade this pick is obviously the Vikings defense. And I will be honest, that's my biggest fear in this game. Minnesota's defense is so dominant. Their pass rush in particular is incredibly dominant. Atlanta's offensive line, I've got some question marks about them. Now, to be fair to the Falcons, their offensive line play wasn't terrible in week 1, but also, to be fair, they played the Bucs defense, which isn't exactly the most strong defense, I should say. The strongest defense in the league, specifically when it comes to pass rush. They don't have the most potent pass rush in the National Football League. But they obviously lost offensive tackle Caleb McGarry, who's obviously out for the season on injured reserve. That was already a big loss to begin with. Now, they graded out pretty well in terms of PFF. They were the top 15 last week in terms of pass blocking grades. However, their run blocking grades were abysmal last week. They were actually bottom 10 in the NFL last week in week 1 in terms of their run blocking grade, again, according to PFF. That's where my big concern with Atlanta is in this spot. That offensive line stuff is definitely worrisome. But despite that, Atlanta still scored pretty well. They had 20 points in that game. They should have had more. Younghoe Koo obviously misses that kick that would have sent the game to overtime. And between you and me, had that game gone to overtime, I think Atlanta probably would have walked away with the victory there. So, yes, Minnesota's defense, we got some concerns there that they could absolutely cause trouble for Michael Penix. But I still think despite that, Penix gets rid of the ball quick enough where I think despite the pass rush, despite Minnesota's defense, he should be able to get the ball off. And if he can, that's the key, because Minnesota, although their pass rush is very lethal, their secondary, not necessarily the strongest. If you look at the numbers there last week for Minnesota's defense, they give 198 yards in the air, which is not terrible, but remember, they were playing the Bears and Caleb Williams, not exactly the model of a great passing offense. But DJ Moore, Roman Dunze, their receivers got open and got some plays, got some yardage, got some catches. So Minnesota's defense, there's a weakness there, okay? I wouldn't say they're the weakest secondary in the league, but they're certainly a weaker point of the defense. This is key because Michael Penix last week in this Falcons offense threw the ball very, very well. 289 passing yards last week for Penix. That's the fourth best number in the NFL in week 1. You saw Drake London. He got involved very early and often. He had 8 catches in that game. He was throwing the ball all over the field. Kyle Pitts got involved. That's what you like to see. Penix, there were a lot of question marks coming into the year with him. Week 1, it's one game, and it's against the Bucs secondary. It doesn't really say a lot for us, but I do think that Penix showed some stuff, including what we saw at the end of last year. This guy has a nice throw on a spiral. Be honest, guys, Michael Penix spiral is literally beautiful. You can just sit back and watch his deep throw highlights all day long. It's a beautiful spiral. He's got a really solid arm. I like what I've seen from Penix so far, for the most part. Again, the key thing here for him is getting the ball off quickly enough, and if the offensive line can give him that extra time, a little bit extra protection, he should be able to go ahead and make some big-time throws on this Minnesota defense. They got to go ahead and establish the run. They struggled to do that against Tampa Bay. Minnesota's defense, again, very strong defense. We'll see how that goes. But I do think Atlanta's offense, the key thing here, I think Atlanta's offense is just good enough to keep this game close. I'm not picking them on the money line here. I'm picking them spread. That key number of plus 3.5 is important. If this line moves to 2.5, I would then switch my pick to Minnesota. The key thing here, I think this game is going to be a field goal game. To me, this screams 27-24 Minnesota. Having that Atlanta plus 3.5 obviously gets us the win in that spot. This is going to be a higher scoring game in my opinion. Yes, Minnesota's defense is strong, but like I mentioned a few times now, their pass rush is lethal, but if Penix can get the ball quick enough, they got some weaknesses in the secondary they can go ahead and exploit. So I do think Atlanta will score enough points. It'll be a closer game than I think people believe it will be. I think Atlanta's offense is good enough, and although their defense leaves some question for concern, Atlanta's run defense actually was pretty strong last year. And in week 1, their run defense wasn't terrible. Looking last week, they gave 101 yards on the ground to Tampa Bay. That's 16th in the league. They had a pretty decent run defense last year. It wasn't great necessarily in week 1, but I'm not too concerned. I think they're going to be able to slow down the run and put the ball into J.J. McCarthy's hands. It's only his second career start, another primetime start for McCarthy. I think this could be a good strategy for Atlanta's defense. I know McCarthy had a very good second half versus the Bears, but that first half obviously was not all that good. And you can definitely see they're kind of keeping the training wheels on J.J. McCarthy, as they should, obviously. But you're seeing that he only had 143 passing yards in that game, 134 passing yards in that game last week. They really weren't taking it too crazy with him in the passing game. If they can slow down the run with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, if they can kind of force it into McCarthy's hands, I think the Falcons secondary with A.J. Terrell, he can at least slow Jefferson down enough. The Vikings obviously have some injuries in the wide receiver room. No Jordan Addison. He's out with a suspension. So we'll see how that goes. I just think taking away the run, forcing into McCarthy's hands, that could keep this game close for Atlanta. Again, the key thing here for Atlanta, for us here, I should say, is keeping this number within 3.5. And if their defense can at least slow down the run and force McCarthy to beat them with his arm, I think we're going to be in a pretty decent spot. Again, Minnesota did not cover a 3.5 point line last week. I think this game will honestly go a lot, very similar. I think it was 27-24 was the score last week as well. We can see a very similar outcome here in this game with the Falcons and the Vikings. Yes, they have home field advantage, but to me, I'm not really too concerned about that. Don't worry, guys. If you missed any of these picks, they'll be down below in the pinned comments. So our first play, Falcons spread plus 3.5. I wish it was plus 8.5. Falcons spread plus 3.5. Our second pick in today's video, as I already mentioned, I like the over here. We're going with the over 44.5 points, which I'm grabbing for minus 108 over on Novig. But again, a lot of different options to go ahead and tail this play. Atlanta's defense is weak enough where Minnesota should be able to go ahead and score some points here. And again, I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but I think Atlanta's offense should be able to score enough to contribute to this total. It's a low total at 44.5, But if you see for both of these teams, they got pretty close, all right? That Bucks-Falcons game, the total went to 43. The line was set at 47.5. You had Younghoe Koo hit that field goal, this line would have cashed. And again, he should have hit that field goal. And then for Minnesota, this line hit in the week 1, 27-24 against the Bears. So, I think the total is a good spot. It's a little bit of a low line here. I think people are thinking that Minnesota's defense is going to make things tough for Atlanta. But again, I think Atlanta's offense can overcome some of those struggles against Minnesota's defense. And Minnesota should be able to score enough points here to contribute to that total. So I think it's a low line. It's a little bit of a hanging fruit line. Could be a little bit risky that it's so low, but I like the over 44.5 here. I think enough points will be scored. Again, I think 27-24 or even 24-21. Very realistic outcome in this game. Now, guys, we have 2 player props left in today's video. But first, before we finish off with those 2 player props, a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Chalkboard. If you like player props and haven't given Chalkboard a go yet, you are absolutely missing out. Right now, they have an incredible sign-up offer for new users. If you sign up today, they'll give you a free $20, no deposit necessary. You need to make sure to go ahead and use code KaiBoston, though, to trigger that bonus, though. So make sure to go ahead and do that. Again, it's a great deal here, $20 free, no deposit necessary if you sign up today using that promo code KaiBoston. That link will be down below in the description or the pinned comment. Download Chalkboard, sign up with code KaiBoston, and claim your free $20 today. Again, one more time for the people in the back row, link down below, whether it be in the description or the pinned comment. Go ahead and download Chalkboard, sign up with code KaiBoston, and claim your free $20 today. Now, back to the show. Again, that Chalkboard promo could come very handy here, considering our next couple of plays are player props. So, our third pick in today's video, going back to the outlier screen here, we're going with Drake London over 6.5 receptions. Now, we're grabbing this for plus 120 over on BetMGM. Again, and a lot of different options on varying sports books, a lot of plus money options as well. Like I mentioned earlier, in week 1, Drake London had a very big game against the Buccaneers. He had 8 receptions in that game for 55 receiving yards. Since Michael Penix has taken over as a starting quarterback, he has loved throwing the football to Drake London. If we look down below here, so that was week 1. Okay, they had 43 passing plays. 61% of their plays were passing plays, which obviously is very good for us as a pass-heavy team. Again, against the Vikings, that's obviously going to be a huge advantage here, being able to throw the football more than run it, considering the Vikings have a pretty good run defense. But look at their targets here. 15 targets in week 1 from Michael Penix against Tampa Bay. Penix targeted Drake London 15 times. Sorry, I'm jumbling my words here. Apologies for that. Early in the morning, haven't had my coffee yet. 15 targets from Penix to Drake London in week 1. He did catch 8 of those at 53% catch rate. That's obviously very good. If we look down below at the target share from week 1, Drake London had a 35.7% target share in this Falcons offense. And I don't really see that changing all that much here as the season goes along. If we go back to the last 5 games, now Michael Penix started the majority of these games. That includes week 1 of this year and the final games of last year. You can see he cashed this prop in 3 straight games, the final 2 starts of last year and the first game of this year. You can see the target spike here. I believe the Giants game is when Michael Penix really took over the starting job. But you can see here that game versus the Raiders, only 3 targets. And then boom, 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 boom. Look at the increase there. The last couple games, 13 targets in week 17 and week 16. 18 targets in week 17, and then, in the week 1 of this year, 15 targets. So Michael Penix, he's definitely Penix's favorite target. He throws to him a bunch. That's obviously very good here. And again, looking at the right side of the screen, Minnesota overall in terms of receptions allowed, again, this is taking just last week's numbers into consideration, week 1. They gave up 16 receptions in total last week to the Bears. Versus wide receivers, 14 receptions allowed to wide receivers last week. That is bottom 10 in the NFL through 1 week into the season. Again, guys like DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, they were getting open, they were getting catches in that game. Drake London, if he gets anywhere near 15 targets again, which I think he should get somewhere in that vicinity, 7 catches is really not out of the realm of possibility. And you're getting plus money for it as well, which obviously is very good. Now, the Vikings, again, they don't really have a premier shutdown corner, so obviously it's going to be very important here. I think Drake London can get open and will make those plays. So for plus money especially, I'm really liking this player prop. Michael Penix seems to very much rely on Drake London here. I don't think that's going to change going into this matchup in Minnesota. All right, guys, in our 4th and final pick in today's video, we have our anytime touchdown player prop play. So again, like I mentioned at the top of the video, all you have to do is comment Nailor, Nailor, Nailor down below, or Jalen. You can write out his full name, Jalen Nailor. I'll take either or. Comment his name down below in the comment section. If he scores a touchdown in this game, one lucky commenter win a free $25 Amazon gift card. So Jalen Nailor, anytime touchdown, we're grabbing that for plus 408 over on Novig. Again, you got a lot of different options there, but in terms of the value, Novig right now plus 408, at least for me, is the best available. Now, one game into the season, he didn't get a touchdown in week 1 versus the Bears, and overall last season, he had just a 33% hit rate on this total. He had a grand total of 6 touchdown catches last season for the Vikings. The one worry I have here, and I'll say it right off the bat, is the fact that this Vikings team, I just don't know how many times they're going to trust J.J. McCarthy to throw the football. Now, again, I think the Falcons defense, they're going to game plan and try to take away the run and force the ball into McCarthy's hands to see if he'll make some mistakes in this game. But that's the biggest concern here, is how many times is McCarthy going to throw the football? You see in week 1, they didn't really have a ton of pass plays. They had a grand total of 23 passing plays in week 1. They were way more reliant on the running game. And you look at the target share, Jalen Nailor, among those 23 pass plays, he did have 3 targets, it's a 15% target share. Jefferson was obviously top dog, followed by Hockenson and Aaron Jones. But one area that I do look for here is the red zone targets. Now, only 3 red zone targets in total last week in week 1, but Jalen Nailor did get 1. Jefferson obviously got 2. If we're looking for a touchdown player, probably a little more value, Jalen Nailor is definitely the way to go. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's easy, but I don't think he's plus money. I think it's minus money right now for Jefferson. I was looking for something with a little more plus money. I think Nailor is a very realistic spot. He's basically wide receiver 2 right now with Jordan Addison being out. Adam Thielen, I know, is obviously there, but look at Adam Thielen in week 1. You know, he only had a grand total of 1 target in week 1. So obviously, Nailor seems to be, in terms of wide receivers, the wide receiver 2 as of right now. And overall, Atlanta last week, they gave up 3 touchdowns to the Buccaneers, that obviously right now is 21st in the NFL. Versus wide receivers, Emeka Egbuka had 2 touchdowns last week for Tampa Bay. Egbuka obviously was wide receiver 2 for the Buccaneers, with obviously Chris Godwin not being 100% healthy. He was wide receiver 2, and he had a very good performance against Atlanta. 2 touchdowns in that game. That obviously puts Atlanta's defense in terms of touchdowns against wide receivers on the lower end of the spectrum. I think obviously they're going to have A.J. Terrell guarding Justin Jefferson in this game, so that could open up some opportunities for Jalen Nailor for plus 408. I think the value is certainly there. The bigger concern obviously being how much is it Minnesota actually going to throw the football in this game. They only had a grand total of 3 red zone targets and 23 pass attempts in general. Jalen Nailor in general last week had 3 targets overall, so we'll see. But if you're looking for value, I don't think this is a bad one at all. And again, for plus 408, the value is certainly present. So Jalen Nailor, anytime touchdown. That's our 4th and final play in today's video. Guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Again, comment Nailor or Jalen Nailor down below in the comment section. If he scores a touchdown, first of all, we're going to win a good amount of money. But second of all, if he does score a touchdown, one lucky commenter will also win a free $25 Amazon gift card. Guys, I'll be back next week with another Sunday Night Football picks video. Until then, I hope you're all winners. Let's go ahead and make some money on a damn Sunday, baby. By the way, these shirts are available over at the Fade Me store. Go ahead and grab yours today. Make some money on a damn Sunday. Let's go.